Eric the Mike Trail Guy. Some time ago, I think, I'm not sure if it's been a year or two or how long, but I made a video, I believe I did, and now I'm going to make another one, same topic. I'm on I-70 now in Indiana, and it's rough, bounce. Anyway, for those of you that do not know, a number of years ago, this thing started making the news, and I heard it the first time back in about, I want to say 2000, maybe 2013, 2014, when I first heard about it. I was listening to a local radio show up in Indianapolis. It was called Chicks on the Right. That's where I first heard about it. And, you know, people that get into doing all kinds of street drugs, sometimes they're looking to get, you know, further and further into it. And I don't comprehend myself. But anyway, they were talking about this drug that became popular down in Florida. Synthetic drug, and they said, from the reports anyway, it came from China. And anyway, the drug was called FLAKKA. F-L-A-K-K-A. They call it the zombie drug. And I first heard about it listening to this show. And I'm like, what the hell? And then the girls started talking about these videos that were on YouTube of people doing this. So naturally, I went on YouTube and like something straight out of one of those movies. You know, they talk about those Living Dead movies, zombie movies, reanimated, whatever you want to call them. And these people who got on that junk were acting just that way. Attacking people. One guy got his face eaten off. And then it was around that time, even before then actually, before I heard about it, when I was going to a place like Walmart or a local gun store or whatever, was checking things out, browsing around, I noticed the targets had changed significantly. And these targets went from, you know, the bad guy in the mask with the gun, and or just regular circular targets. And now they had images of, you know, living dead, zombies, both people and animals. I'm like, what the hell is this? Why the hell would they show images like this? And I did see these posters of target shooting at Walmart and gun stores. I even saw them at Rural King. And I'm like, well, what the hell is this all about? Then it dawned on me, oh, it's conditioning. And I got to thinking, something's going to happen. Well, as anybody who knows anything on the conspiracy side of things, they know about the Georgia Guidestones down in Georgia. 12 very tall rock-like or marble pillars, rectangular, 12 different languages, and one of the things written on there is to keep the population of the world, or get the population of the world, to eventually down to less than 1.5 billion. 500 million people spread out, because they, whoever they are, feel that resources are being gobbled up way too fast. You got these people that can't even wipe their six. They're having just kid after kid after kid after kid after kid. And it's like, wow. And you got disease, you got starvation, people got their skin hanging off their bones, yet they're out there knocking boots and having kids. Jeez. So I got to thinking, just as with the Roswell incident in 1947, then we started being inundated inundated with images and movies and TV shows of off-worlders. Some folks call them aliens, UFOs. That's been going on for decades. Decades. Well, back in about 1960, 1961, there was a movie called The Last Man on Earth. Its original name was I Am Legend. Fast forward years later, there was a movie called I Am Legend that had movie actor Will Smith. You put those two movies side by side and watch them. Other than a few updates of modern conveniences, technology and stuff, the movies are basically the same. Wow. And then somebody told me about a movie called Omega Man that was the same. And then in 1969, of course, they had the movie Night of the Living Dead. And that movie was kind of tame compared to the Living Dead movies they make today, 2021. And they have made since 1969. Decades of these movies. The 1970s saw a bunch of them. 1980s saw them. 1990s saw them. Earlier part of this century saw them. There have been TV shows. World War Z. Why do they keep making these movies? And seeing these targets at gun shops and stuff at Walmart or OK, where they sell firearms, got me to thinking, what if releasing the FLAKKA drug in the dopehead community, what if that was all just what do you want to call it, testing, or maybe observation? Get some people to doing this stuff and watch and see what they do. And I got to thinking, it said FLAKKA was some kind of synthetic drug. Whether you shot it in your arm or smoked it, I don't know how they do it. Drug world's not my world, never has been, ain't never gonna be. Too many people throw their lives away on that crap. Heroin, crack, meth, you know, all that stuff. But what would happen now that the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have wound down, and of course with the big pullout and everything going chaotic in Afghanistan, now we really don't know what's going to happen. What if some rogue agency got a hold of this FLAKKA stuff, just like when people were smoking bath salt or injecting it somehow? They basically turned into the same thing, people's faces and stuff. But what happens if you got some rogue agency that gets this FLAKKA stuff and makes it in like a vapor form? Now, not too many years ago, we look up in the sky, we see all these chemtrails all over the place, blanketing the sky with all kinds of toxins. Well, what happens if you have these planes do a flyover, very populous areas, and they start blanketing the area with this mist, vapor, that is essentially FLAKKA, where you don't have to smoke it, you don't have to shoot it up your arm in a hypodermic needle or whatever, but all you have to do is breathe it. And almost instantaneously, in a matter of minutes, entire population over big cities, countries all over, people as well as animals, get a whiff of that stuff, and then it has the effect on them, the people in Florida, and they start acting out that way. To where you got just absolute chaos. Not like you did with the Antifa meatheads wanting to go, you know, burn everything they can find and attack people and say, oh yeah, we're social justice douchebags. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about real chaos, where you have people and animals that basically become what you'd see in these Living Dead movies we've been inundated with for about 60 years now. What happens when you have hundreds of thousands of people, and big cities, even millions of people? What would happen if New York City, Chicago, Miami, Florida, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Los Angeles, all the big cities, all the big ones, the major ones, in all the states, what would happen in one day, one night? All these cities was the recipients of a well-connected conspiracy to blanket all these populations with the FLAKKA and turn tens of millions of people into basically living zombies looking for flesh. Animals as well as people. Well, you know, they want to get the population less than 1/2 billion. I don't know what's the population now, 7 billion, 9 billion? A lot of folks. Just the population is just growing like mad. Well, every year you have diseases, you've had the corona, you have wars. Let's face it, wars are messy. Wars are messy, wars are expensive. The whole corona thing, people are about fed up with it. They say, we got mask mandates, and people are just saying, take your mask mandate and stick it in your ass. People get the shot. People still get it. But what happens if you have something more sinister and they start blanketing entire populations? Not in just this country. What if they do it all over the planet? You know, in India, where you have a huge portion of the world's population. China, another huge portion of the world's population. All over Africa, Canada, Australia, South America, all over the United States, Mexico, all over Central America. What happened if there was a great grand conspiracy and blanketed basically all the land, the air over the land, and the water? If they blanketed airborne and waterborne with FLAKKA, saturated areas with FLAKKA. Next thing you know, you have all this madness going on. The only way they can justify wiping out that many individuals with no objection is if those people were psychotic, like they've become zombies. There was a book written a number of years ago, 3 books actually, by the same guy, Jeff Blusky. Not spelled the regular way. But the name of the book series, it started out as Year 50, then became Year 51, next one was Year 52. Year 50, there was some kind of, people like to use the term alien, but something that came from someplace not on this planet. And after it got here, got loose, and people were infected with this, basically the people's skin turned gray, their skin became what they call oil, their eyes got black, and they became like these reanimated, always looking for flesh, living flesh. And seeing all this stuff for all these years made me think, is Is that going to be the way that they're going to depopulate the planet? Wars are messy. Wars are expensive. And you got all kinds of sinister individuals out there. You have diseases that are released every year. But what happens when a coordinated effort blankets the skies that gets down into our air and into our water and in the forest and the crops, everything with FLAKKA? Where basically every living thing it comes in contact with turns into one of these images that we've seen. And that's the only way they could justify just eradicating it. You know, in 1985, there was a movie came out called Return of the Living Dead. Might have been 1984. But it was called Return of the Living Dead. In the beginning, before the movie even starts, it said these events actually happened. Where and when they actually happened, I don't know. In the movie, they show it taking place around Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm thinking, wow. But the Army had a contingency plan. A thing that deanimated these things. A chemical weapon launched from a cannon. And it had this stuff when it blew up and it blasted, got down on everything, and it deanimated these things. In the second movie, there was at least 3, maybe 4, called Return of the Living Dead. The second one, the way they deanimated them was electrocution. Power cable. They were standing in a bunch of water, and a power cable dropped in the water, and they got electrocuted. Got deanimated. You shoot them, you stab them, they're like, what do you think that was going to do? So, I'm thinking now that the next big thing, or one of maybe the next big things to come along to try and depopulate this planet that we all share is, I think some rogue agency is going to try and do a release, airborne and waterborne, of the FLAKKA drug. That's the only way that people could justify just eradicating. Machine gun, whatever you need. That ain't Uncle Joe. That ain't Aunt Sally. Blast it. Just like in the movies. And the movies, all they're doing is showing us what's yet to come. Some of them have showed us what's already happened, but we don't get to see those events or hear about those events. We don't get those events drummed in our ear and out our ass, just like the whole damn George Floyd thing. But anyway, I think I put this out there at one time, but I wanted to put it out here again. With Afghanistan coming to a close, and of course that thing's going complete chaos now. We got a bumbling fool in the White House, and things are getting chaotic. Things are been talked about for decades. The really nasty things are going to happen, and we all know that it's going to happen in one form or another. We just never knew when. Now, if they release it, and there's all kinds of chaos going on, and maybe they don't release their contingency plan while the elitists are hung out in their bunkers, while the rest of us are out here fighting for our very existence. Who knows? Anyway, I just want to give you all something to think about. Releasing stuff into the air, how it affects people, how it affects animals, doing things on a grand scale. And I think it's been done before. Not necessarily the FLAKKA thing, but other things have been done before. They're going on all the time. But I think whenever this thing is released, it's going to be one big operation. And the purpose of it, of course, is going to be to depopulate the planet. You know, try and eliminate most of the world's population and then let the Earth regenerate. Now, I'm sure all these activists would be clapping about it. But those would be horrifying times. And they've already made movies and TV series and books about it. And anyway, I got a little bit further to go, and then I got to jump off my exit and go deliver some deli. But anyway, I wanted to put this out there and give you something to think about. But if those books are still available on Amazon, look them up, get them, read them. It's called Year 50. Go and try and find the old movie, probably have it on Amazon, called The Last Man on Earth. And then get the one that was put out a number of years ago. It had actor Will Smith, called I Am Legend. Put them side by side, watch them. See what I'm talking about, see what I'm telling you. Or you go to the Wally Marts and places, the gun stores. Probably find them on Amazon, eBay. You know, images of zombies for targets, both people and animals. Why would they do that unless it was a conditioning process to get you ready for what is inevitable going to be coming down the pike by design, by plan. This is Eric the Mind Control Guy, friends. Take care and be vigilant.